Ambassador Zethkri's crystalline form shimmered with what humans had learned to recognize as embarrassment. The Altarian diplomat stood before the mahogany desk in Sarah Chen's law office, his usual air of superiority notably absent. "We require your assistance," he said, each word seeming to cause him physical pain. Sarah leaned back in her chair, fingers steepled. 3 years ago, when humanity had first been granted membership in the Galactic Council, this same being had laughed, actually, laughed at Earth's legal system. He'd called human jurisprudence primitive and unnecessarily complex, dismissing millennia of legal evolution as the confused ramblings of a backward species. "I'm listening," she said simply. Zethkri's light pulsed erratically. "The hegemony they've filed a categorical dissolution claim against my people. They're using Section 47B of the Galactic Commerce Code, subsection 15, paragraph 3, line 7. His voice grew smaller with each specification. "We don't understand what this means." Sarah almost smiled. The Galactic Commerce Code was a marvel of bureaucratic efficiency, exactly 14 pages long, covering trade disputes across 17,000 species. It was elegant in its simplicity, which the Council had proudly proclaimed as evidence of their advanced civilization. "Let me guess," Sarah said. "Your species approached legal matters the way most Galactic Council members do. Simple, direct, honor-based agreements?" "Of course," Zethkri replied, a hint of his old pride returning. "We are not savages who need endless written contracts for every minor transaction." "And now the hegemony is using that against you." The light in Zethkri's crystalline body dimmed. "They claim we violated subsection 15 by failing to properly initialize quantum-locked trade protocols during our dilithium exchanges. They're demanding ownership of our 3 largest mining colonies, as compensation." Sarah pulled up her holographic display and began scrolling through the relevant sections. The Galactic Commerce Code, for all its brevity, was a legal nightmare. Each line could be interpreted dozens of ways, and there were virtually no precedents for dispute resolution. The Council had always relied on good faith negotiations and species honor to resolve conflicts, but the hegemony humanity had discovered was a species that had evolved from pack hunters. They understood something most other species didn't. Laws were weapons, and like any weapon, they were most effective when used by those who understood them best. "This is the 14th case this month," Sarah mused, pulling up other files. "Let me guess, before humans joined the Council, trade disputes were rare?" "Virtually non-existent," Zethkri confirmed. "Most species consider it dishonorable to exploit legal technicalities." "But not the hegemony." "No, not the hegemony." Sarah stood and walked to her window, gazing out at New Geneva's skyline. The United Nations legal complex had been humanity's first major contribution to galactic civilization, though few species had understood its significance at the time. When humans had arrived at the Galactic Council, they'd brought with them something unprecedented, an entire profession dedicated to understanding, interpreting, and manipulating legal frameworks. While other species had philosophers, warriors, and scientists, humans had lawyers, beings whose entire existence revolved around finding loopholes, precedents, and technicalities. The Council had been horrified. "Your species creates professional arguers?" Elder Mortis of the Ethereal Collective had asked, his gaseous form rippling with disgust. "Beings whose sole purpose is to twist words and meanings?" "We prefer the term legal advocates," the human representative had replied diplomatically. That had been 3 years ago. Now, species across the galaxy were learning what humans had known for millennia. In any sufficiently complex system, there will be those who exploit that complexity for personal gain. "The hegemony has been studying human legal practices," Sarah continued, turning back to Zethkri. "They've hired human legal consultants, the ones we politely declined to recommend, to the Council." Zethkri's form flickered. "You mean there are humans helping them? Every profession has its less scrupulous practitioners," Sarah said diplomatically. "The hegemony approached several of our law firms 6 months ago. The ones who accepted their contracts weren't exactly our finest representatives." She pulled Up another file. They're using a combination of human legal tactics and the Council's simplified code to systematically target resource-rich species. The Crystalline Dominion, the Verdant Collective, the Atmospheric Assembly, they're all facing similar claims. This is monstrous, Zethkri whispered. This is legal, Sarah corrected. Which is why you're here. She sat back down and activated her recording device. I'll take your case, Ambassador. But I need you to understand something. This won't be a simple matter of filing a counterclaim. The Galactic Commerce Code needs to be completely restructured. Every loophole needs to be closed, every ambiguity clarified, and every potential exploit eliminated. That would take years, Sarah confirmed. Decades, potentially. The kind of comprehensive legal framework humans have been building for thousands of years. Zethkri was quiet for a long moment. The Council will need to approve such changes. They will, Sarah said confidently, because the alternative is watching the hegemony legally conquer half the galaxy, one technicality at a time. 3 days later, Sarah stood before the Galactic Council, surrounded by representatives from 47 species. The same beings who had once mocked human legal complexity now hung on her every word as she outlined a comprehensive reform package. The hegemony has taught us an important lesson, she addressed the assembly. Laws without proper interpretation frameworks aren't laws. They're weapons waiting to be used by those ruthless enough to wield them. Elder Mortis's gaseous form swirled nervously. And humans would help us create these frameworks? Sarah smiled. Ambassador, humans have been preparing for this moment for 3,000 years. We have over 40 million legal professionals across Earth alone, and we've been studying galactic law since the day we joined this council. What do you require? Asked Chancellor Veith of the Insectoid Confederation. Full legal integration. Authority? Sarah replied. Human legal advisors embedded in every trade negotiation, every territorial agreement, every resource allocation, and comprehensive legal education programs for all member species. The vote was unanimous. As the session ended and representatives began filing out, Zethkri approached Sarah one final time. I must ask, he said quietly, was this planned? Did humans anticipate the situation? Sarah considered the question carefully. Ambassador, humans have a saying, prepare for war, hope for peace. We didn't plan for the hegemony specifically, but we've always known that in any system of laws, there will be those who seek to exploit them. We just made sure we'd be ready to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. She gathered her files and headed toward the exit. Besides, she added with a slight smile, you might say that teaching the galaxy proper jurisprudence is humanity's way of ensuring everyone plays fair. Behind her, Zethkri's crystalline form pulsed with what she'd learned to recognize as profound respect. The age of galactic law had begun, and humanity would be its architects.